The story begins in Seoul City of South Korea, and it was an ordinary day for the citizens. It was no different from any other day for them, and all the people were busy in their daily lives. But the peace that they thought would last forever was shattered because suddenly a dungeon appeared out of nowhere in the middle of the street. The people left all the work they were doing and looked at the huge distortion at the street in tension and fear. Monsters started coming out of it in great numbers, starting to wreak havoc and disturbing the temporary peace the people had. The citizens started running from the monsters in the hope of saving themselves. Suddenly, a girl fell down on the street and no one was coming to help her. As the monster approached her and rose his axe with an intent to kill her, a teenage boy, wearing a suit with a cape, came with insane speed, while he slashed the monster in two halves with his sword, which was surrounded in a faint blue aura. The girl was awestruck by watching what took place in front of her eyes. The boy was none other than a hunter who slayed the monsters and helped the people in need. The hunters collected the resources that appeared when they killed the monsters, which made humanity prosper, and that was how the world of hunters began. Hit that like button, as today's like aim is 100 likes. Also consider subscribing with the notification bell on to get notified as soon as a new video drops onto the channel. As the scene shifts, we see that someone was sitting inside the Hunter Association registration office. The lady at the desk was surprised and told the man that it was the first time that she ever saw a labor class. She asked our protagonist, Jia, if he was not having any skills or any traits. Jia smiled as he looked at the lady nervously. He told the lady with a faint smile that he was indeed not having any skills or traits. We come to a concrete jungle, made out of huge and tall buildings, and as we reach the Sector 7 Hunter store, we see that two people enter the store together, and the Hunter store owner Jiho welcomed them onto his shop. The people who enter the shop were hunters, and the boy asked Jia if he can get some potions from his shop. But suddenly, the girl happily pointed her finger towards Jia while she ran towards him, asking him if he was the man who got the labor class. Jia was confused while he replied in a yes, but the girl was still not satisfied. She asked Jia if it was really true that he didn't have any skill or traits and wanted to know about how he hunted the monsters without any power. Hearing that, the boy told her to stop immediately, while Jia gave an artificial laughter. The boy put a basket full of potions onto the desk while he apologized for his companion's behavior, telling Jia that she does not know how to read the room. But Jia replied with a smile that it was okay because whatever the girl was saying was not at all wrong. It was true that Jia did not have any special skills, so he did not hunt and instead, just gathered the resources at the back. Knowing that, the girl was finally satisfied, and the man immediately asked the girl in a stern tone about why she had to ask something so insensitive to the poor man. But it was not effective on the girl, as she just replied that there was nothing wrong with her being curious. Suddenly, a large number of military tanks, along with an ambulance, rushed through the road near the hunter's shop. The girl was surprised by looking at this outside the shop's window, and told the boy that a rank 3 dungeon must have opened somewhere, and that's why the army was preparing so much to tackle it. The boy added that he also saw some ambulances when he was coming to the shop. He also wanted to try getting in a place like a level 3 dungeon. But the girl woke the boy up from his dream, making him realize that their skills were far from enough for entering a level 3 dungeon. The boy was annoyed while he heard this fact, telling the girl that she was starting to bother him. As Jiho was listening to their conversation, he also thought that entering a rank 3 dungeon would be nice. As the couple exited his shop, Jiho stood outside the gate, thanking his customers. He was disappointed at the fact that he would not be contacted by the Hunters Association to clear a rank 3 dungeon and would miss a lot of useful resources. It was 5 years since Jiho was awakened and got a unique class called Laborer. But as he looked at his status window, he came to know that he was not having any skills or traits at all. It was at this moment that he knew that he could not even dream of getting inside the dungeon with other hunters to kill the monsters. But an idea struck into Jia's mind. He decided to be at the rear, and after a company or a guild swiped the dungeon, he would start picking up the leftovers and sell it onto his shop. Even when nobody recognizes his work, Jia was happy that he was getting enough money to support his hobby. Jia's only hobby was reading old and antique books. He turned towards a drawer and took out a green book with a tree printed on both of its sides. As he opened the book and started reading it, he was getting drowsy in an instant. As Jia yawned with a wide mouth, he wondered if he was getting sleepy because the book was too hard to read. As moments passed, Jia's eyes were now heavy, and within a few seconds he was asleep onto his desk with the book wide open. Suddenly, green aura started coming out from the book that Jia was reading, and we see that a large tree was printed on the book. The green aura surrounded Jia and teleported him onto a mysterious place. As he woke up, he turned around nervously, trying to know where he was. As he finally surveyed the place, he wondered about where he actually was. He killed the initial thoughts of him being in a dream by pinching his cheeks as tightly as he could. Jia immediately knew that wherever he was, it was not an illusion but a reality. Jia opened his status window in the hopes to know if he had awakened some special skill, but it was nothing at all. Knowing that his methods were not working, he looked around the forest and noticed that it was a little weird. Jia was not able to hear any animal sounds and was not able to see normally because of the thick fog that surrounded him. He was just able to see some twigs with a fruit that looked like it was hit by a storm. They were present on the ground ahead of a large tree trunk which was broken apart. Maybe because of the same storm. As Jia looked closely at the plants, he knew that he hadn't seen any fruit that looks like this in his entire life. He opened the appraisal window, and it notified him that the plant was an ether herb of level 1, which made the ether consumption of all skills into 0 for 10 seconds. He was shocked to see that there was a plant which can do this unreal thing. All the hunters needed ether no matter what, in order to use a skill. It was somehow like a fuel to them, and the amount of ether that was going to be used depended on the strength of the skill. Jia knew that whatever he found inside the forest was amazing, and if only he could take some liquid from the herb, it would benefit him greatly. But it was a shame that he did not bring any bottles with him. Suddenly, he noticed that a living leaf was sprouting out of the tree, which seemed to be wrecked unnaturally. He decided that he would help the plant a little, and with his delicate hands, he planted the twig near the tree branch and sprinkled some water over it, hoping that doing this would be enough to keep the plant alive. He was thankful that he found good soil and enough water nearby the tree. Suddenly, a notification popped up, telling Jia that he has obtained the plant-friendly skill of level 1, along with the blessing of XXX, also of level 1. Jia was shocked as he looked at the notifications with his soiled hands. He was not able to believe that he got a new skill and a trait by just planting a twig, but Jia was still going to get multiple surprises. As the notifications disappeared, he saw a golden aura coming out from the twig he planted, and as the aura was getting stronger, the old broken tree was disappearing in front of his eyes. Jia felt like he got an electric shock all over his body, and with that, he woke up onto the same desk he slept on. He looked at the familiar place, where he spent his time on, and thought that he was inside a dream. But something was different. His hands were still soiled from all the work he did, and the book he was reading was now closed, even when Jia was not the one who did it. As he looked at his hands and the mysterious book, he immediately understood that whatever he experienced was not a dream, but a reality. Jia was still trying to reason with himself, while thinking that he must have unknowingly suffered from sleepwalking, but he knew that he locked the door, and there was no place with dirt around him. Immediately, a thought struck inside Jia's mind. He wanted to know if he would be able to go to the forest he was in, once again, if he slept. He decided that he will try it out anyway, and with a smile on his face and excitement on the inside, he opened the mysterious book once again. As the scene shifts, we see that a faint green light teleported Jia onto the mysterious forest once again, but it was not the same as before. It was wilder, and the fog was less thicker than before, too. Jia knelt down onto the ground while thinking that he has never heard about a dungeon where the people can enter when they fall asleep. But as he looked at the twig he planted before, he saw a fruit hanging on the tree just ahead of it. An appraisal window popped up, telling Jia that it was a solar apple, and if it will be combined with a health potion, the healing amount will increase by 20%. And the time duration it took to heal the user will decrease to 80%. Jiho was surprised to the core to see that he was indeed looking at a solar apple, which was hard to find even in high-ranked dungeons. He knew that the current healing potions in the market can only replenish 10% of maximum health, but adding the solar apple to it can give 20% additional healing and even reduce the healing time. But surprises were still to come to him, as Jiho looked around and saw that there was not only a single solar apple, but a large quantity of them, scattered all over the mysterious forest he was in, hanging onto large trees of the forest. He knew that if he took the solar apples and the ether herb liquid, he would be able to make incredible potions with outstanding effects. Jiho was now in a dilemma, thinking about whether he should take 1 or 2 apples out of the forest or not, but he was not having anything to carry the materials with him. Suddenly, something Jiho's face, and as he used the appraisal skill on it, he came to know that it was a dimensional pouch. Jiho wondered if he would be able to put the things from the mysterious forests inside the pouch and take them to the general store with him. The pouch even had some glass bottles inside of it for storing the ethyl liquid. Jiho was not able to believe that just when he was thinking about taking the mysterious items home, the dimensional pouch fell onto his face. According to him, it was not a good thing, but instead it was a shocking as well as a scary thing. But Jiho was happy anyway. By getting the things he needed for the mysterious forest. The next day, a horde of hunters was gathered inside the famous Hunter's specialty chain store in District 7, named the Hunting Ground. The hunters made a commotion as one of them screamed at the retailer for not having any more paralysis resistance potions. But he was just apologizing to the hunter and told him to wait for just an hour for more items as the shop was out of stock. The hunters were panicked by hearing this and hurriedly started contacting other places. A female hunter screamed that they must enter into the dungeon in 30 minutes or the gate will close. But a man told the lady in a disappointing tone that there was no resources left at even the witch's cauldron and the pyramid store. Suddenly, the man turned around as he heard the door and saw a lady covered in a beautiful black armor with golden accents. The man knew that she was none other than Hyojin, the sword witch. She came near the desk and asked the retailer to call the manager of the store. All the hunters stopped their constant screaming and rambling and stood in a circle, giving way to Hyojin. Many of the hunters were awestruck by looking at her for the first time. They were not able to believe that she had rare class equipment and artifacts from Tier 4 dungeons, but they also knew that as Hyojin was at the 12th place in the hunter ranking, it was the reason for her having the rare items with her. The manager called out to Hyojin, telling her that he had no idea that she would come to the shop in person. Hyojin replied that she had to came to the shop herself because the manager was not answering to her calls. She immediately asked the manager if the potion they talked about yesterday was ready or not. But the manager instantly apologized to her, while telling her that the shop had a lot of bookings originally, so Hyojin's potion was still being prepared. The manager was going to ask her to wait a bit, but before he could even finish his sentence, Hyojin told him that she can't wait because she had to finish preparations in 30 minutes and enter the dungeon. Hyojin took out her phone and looked at the map application to look for general stores around the place she was at. As the scene shifts, we see that Jiho was preparing a golden liquid inside his scientific glass bottle. He checked the constituents of the potion again, remembering if something was left behind by mistake. He poured the solar apple concentrate into the mix, and as a drop of it was dropped into the liquid, it started giving off a faint aura. A notification popped up telling Jiho that due to XXX blessing, a great success verdict was applied to the potion, and it became a special potion of level 1, which decreased the ether consumption for skills to 0 from 14 seconds and recovered 14% of maximum health over 15 seconds. He also got the alchemy skill for finishing the potion. Jiho was shocked by looking at the skills. He was getting back to back. He was not able to believe that he even got the alchemy skill, which even the self-proclaimed alchemists did not have. But he was still wondering about the XXX's blessing he got and the effect it did to the potion. Jiho wondered if selling the potion before knowing about his traits and abilities would be alright. He did not know about how much he should charge for the potion, but the effect was a bit hard to believe. Jiho knew that even if he told someone that his potion will make Etha's skill consumption 0 for 14 seconds, they will not believe him. Jiho decided that he will try his special potion on himself first, but before he could even open the bottle, Hyojin entered through his shop's door. Jiho immediately turned on his happy shopkeeper mode and welcomed the lady into his shop, not knowing who she was. But Hyojin immediately ran towards Jiho, getting close to him while she asked if he had any potions in his shop. She was in a hurry because there was no time to spare as she had to enter the dungeon. Suddenly, she noticed the golden potion, which was still kept onto the desk, and asked Jiho if it was a health potion. He agreed to the lady, telling her that it was indeed a health potion, but it was not for sale. But before listening to what Jiho had to say, Hyojin apologized to him, as there was no time left for her to waste. She grabbed the golden potion into her hands and started walking away, as she threw some bills onto the desk, while telling Jiho that if the money was not enough, he should contact Hyojin's guild. Before Jiho could react and understand what has happened with him just now, the lady was already disappeared in an instant. As the scene shifts, we see that Hyojin entered into the dungeon at the nick of time and the monsters were waiting for her arrival. She immediately landed onto the ground and took out her sword, instantly killing all the monsters in her way. The gatherers who came behind Hyojin were baffled to look at her insane skills. As they expected, rank 12 was completely different, and there was nothing for them to do inside the dungeon. The small guy told the tall guy that even when it was nice and comfortable, it does not feel quite right to just to follow the sword witch without raising their own skills. But the tall man started collecting leather from the monsters, while he told the small boy to not bother the lady and quietly gather the resources. He told his companion that if it were the old Hyojin, she would have asked them to catch the monster together. But ever since that incident took place, she changed to a complete solo player. The small guy was not able to understand about what his companion was saying, but the tall guy knew that his companion must have no knowledge about the incident as he was a newbie. He was going to tell him about the incident, but suddenly both of them were interrupted by Hyojin as she came running towards them with insane speeds while telling them to run. Both the boys were confused, thinking about why the lady was acting like that. But then, they saw a huge monster with a tail and hands having pincers like a scorpion. As Hyojin stood in front of the creature, she knew that it was none other than the man-stalker. An aversion-level monster who was the size of an armored car, and was very dangerous, as it uses extreme poison from its tail and pincers to kill its prey. The boys were deeply struck in fear, not able to comprehend about why an aversion-level monster that appears in a Tier 4 dungeon was instead present in such a low-level dungeon. Hyojin materialized multiple swords of light while she used her magic and screamed toward the boys, telling them to run once again. She immediately jumped from the ground, high up into the air to look at the monster into its eyes. She immediately took out her huge sword and attacked at the monster with a heavy blow. But to her surprise, the monster was able to easily block her heavy attack and threw Hyojin with such force that she was flying into the air with insane speeds, breaking all the trees which came into her way. Just by that one attack, Hyojin was not able to even stand on her two legs. She immediately realized that the monster was too strong, and even her ether was almost consumed. She thought that even if she was not able to save herself, she must buy time for the other two boys to run away. Hyojin started wondering about what her Sunghyuk Appa would do at times like these if he was with her. She interrupted her train of thoughts as she knew that the man was not around anymore, and she can only believe in herself now. She popped the cork out of the golden potions bottle as a last resort and drank it all in one go. Suddenly, she felt as if she was overflowing with ether, and even the potion was as delicious as a beverage. She immediately knew that she can fight once again and launched herself into the air once again while she used the powerful sword Rampage, slashing the monster multiple times, cutting it into small pieces. As the monster was now slain and dropped dead to the ground, she was not able to believe that on top of health recovery, the potion was able to totally stop the ether consumption for her skills. Thanks to that, she could use powerful sword Rampage for 10 seconds in succession, when she could only normally use it for just 3 seconds. Hyojin looked at the empty bottle of the golden potion and knew that she was able to achieve this feat due to the mysterious potion given to him by the mysterious shopkeeper of the mysterious shop. I would like you all to hit that like button, as today's like aim is 500 likes. Also do subscribe for more videos. Now let's get back to the video. The story continues, and we see that after the Manstalker dungeon incident, Seal Hyojin was back at Jia's shop, screaming at him as soon as she entered. Jia welcomed her in nervousness, thinking about why this lady customer was always angry, but Hyojin immediately asked Jia about what the potion he sold to her was, but as she noticed some chattering, she looked behind of her, where everyone in the shop has identified Hyojin, talking to each other about how she took care of a swarm of Manstalkers by herself the last day. She was flustered and backed down from Jia's body, apologizing to him for being rude. Jia accepted the apology and asked the lady if she had some problems with his potion. Hyojin told Jia that she had never seen a potion that can heal 14% of HP and cost no ether. But Jia was listening to what the lady was saying, and instead told her that he saw the post too, where the lady eliminated the aversion monster by herself with her amazing attacks. Hearing that, Hyojin slammed her hands onto Jia's desk, telling him that it was not her, but the potion that he gave her, that did the work in her place. She inquired to Jia about how he got the potion, or did he brew the potion himself? Hearing that question from the lady, Jia took out the solar apple and showed it to Hyojin, telling her that he used the solar apple that he luckily found in a Tier 0 dungeon. But Hyojin was smart. She was not ready to believe that Jia can get something so rare as a solar apple in a Tier 0 dungeon, but Jia knew that telling Hyojin about the mysterious forest could go wrong, so he decided to make excuses instead. Jia told the lady that he was happy that his potion helped her in completing the dungeon. Hyojin was looking somewhere else, ignoring what the shopkeeper was saying. Instead, she asked Jia about what the blue liquid kept on the shelf was. Jia replied that it was an ice resistance potion, and it gave 32% ice resistance to the user, which lasted for 40 minutes. Hyojin was stuck to the core by hearing about such a great item. Even the best quality ice resistance potions in the market gave only 10% resistance and lasted for only 15 minutes. And in comparison to that, when she heard Jia saying something so extraordinary, she was not able to believe it. Jiho remembered that as he was wandering around the mysterious forest, he saw some winter strawberries growing around that place, which gave 20% ice resistance for 30 minutes to the user. He collected a basket full of them and made ice resistance potions with it. Aquarang Level 2 Alchemy Skill. Hyojin unbelievably asked Jia about the place where he found the materials of the ice resistance potion. But hearing the same excuse from him about the Tirzo dungeon, she immediately knew that Jia was a bad liar. She decided to not ask him about it anymore, since he was uncomfortable. But for that, she wanted to buy all the ice resistance potion available in his shop. She slammed an envelope full of cash, telling Jia that she did not need a receipt in return. As she was getting out of the shop in a hurry, Jia yelled with all his might, telling Hyojin that the cash she gave him was much more than the potion's actual worth. But she ignored Jia, telling him that even that much money was not enough for potions this extraordinary. The lady realized that she did not know the seller's name and asked him about it. Jia introduced himself, and as he told his name to the lady, she complimented him, saying that it was a nice name, and she would meet him in the future too. Man, is our boy Jia getting a girlfriend soon anyways. As the scene shifts, Jia was back again into the mysterious forest. He collected multiple glowstones and kindled gems along with winter strawberries, as he needed a refill of materials for his shop. He sat down with his dimensional pouch on the side. wondering about why there were so many resources in the forest without any monsters or danger. He was not able to comprehend about where the mysterious forest was, but suddenly, he noticed a rattling sound coming from long grass. He immediately stood up and started going towards the direction of the sound, knowing for sure that there was something definitely at that place. As he looked around, he saw a cute little beetle lying onto the ground. The system told Jia that the creature was a pterodrone, a mythic monster who was a small car-sized monster that looked like a beetle with giant claws. Jia was shocked to see a pterodrone in the mysterious forest. He even wondered about why they were looking so small. But as he tried to follow the group of the cute creatures, he saw that there was a barrier put up in place, and he can't go past it. Suddenly, he saw that the group of pterodrones were going towards the devil ants, a hazard monster who was the size of a cargo truck, and killing one of them attracted 10 more of them, which made it difficult to eliminate them. Jia was amused to see that the pterodrones and devil ants were fighting with each other, like they were in some kind of war. Jia had already read something about the devil ants from a book before. He knew that they were hazard monsters, and the poison that they secreted made them more dangerous than even the aversion monsters. But something was still stuck into Jia's mind. Every notification told him that the monsters were either car-sized or truck-sized, but they were looking so small to him that he was not able to comprehend about why it was written so about them. Suddenly, he saw that a devil ant was overpowering a pterodrone, and he was trying to get away. Knowing that the pterodrones are all losing, Jia wondered about the reason they were still fighting so hard for. He knew for sure that the cute creatures will lose if it kept going like this and wanted to help them. It was as if the system has heard him and a notification popped up in front of Jia, which stated that the war between him and his pterodrones against the devil ants has begun. The system asked Jia if he wanted to help out his legion of pterodrones in this fight. Reading this, Jia was shocked by knowing that he can intervene in between the fight. Even when he was a little confused by the system's wording, he still decided to help out the pterodrones. The notification told him that his legion was losing right now, and he can use his essence to cast an area buff. It gave multiple options to Jia, which included the increase in health points along with resistance to poison and physical damage. Jia can even use the labor's blessing for the pterodrones. He was amused to see that even when he cannot help the creatures directly, he can give assistance to them like this. The options had to do something with a material called essence, and as Jia opened his hands, he had 2 of them. So he decided that he will choose the labor's blessing to bless the cute little pterodrones. Suddenly, a yellow aura surrounded all the creatures, giving them an immense buff. The creatures who fell down were now standing up, flapping their small wings intensely, and flying towards the devil ants with insane speeds. All the pterodrones started attacking the devil ants, and were defeating them one by one. It was just a matter of time, and the pterodrones were eventually able to finish all the devil ants, seizing victory into their cute little pincers. Jia was so happy by the indirect win he has got, and looked at the cute creatures as they were celebrating their win with smiles. Jia thanked the pterodrones for protecting the forest, telling them that they did good work. But suddenly, all the pterodrones gathered in front of him and gave him a huge amount of essence and essence stones. Jia smiled at this gesture and confused the pterodrones. He picked up only 5 essences and essence stones and told the pterodrones that they were the ones who fought with their lives on the line and only this much materials were good enough for Jia, considering the help he gave the creatures. But as soon as he picked the materials up, Jia saw that the protective barrier was now gone along with the fog. Seeing this, Jia was so happy and excited as he thought that even when he was only going to stay for a bit inside the mysterious forest, he may not be going back to his shop for a while now.